Welcome everyone to an exciting episode of Two Bar Connections with your host, Jesse and
James. What's going on, everybody?
What is going on indeed? So for today's episode, we have some unfortunate firings and layoffs. Well, actually a mix of good news and bad news over on the traditional media front, where we have Polygon has seen mass layoffs as they have been placed under new management. We also have Giant Bomb seemingly getting some layoffs, but actually some happy news with them going independent. And we also, from there, we have Bungie taking an L in court over some copyright lawsuits, court cases going on. We also have the FTC also taking an L against Microsoft after they lost their appeal to bar Microsoft from purchasing Activision Blizzard. We also have Sony back at it again with the live service nonsense. Apparently they have opened up a brand new studio just to make yet another live service game. We also have Nintendo being scumbag dickwads once again, with them apparently revising their user agreement, their EULA, where they specifically say that they can brick your Switch if they find you breaking the rules, if you've been a naughty boy. You can say bye-bye to your Switch. And they also add apparently an anti-arbitration clause to their EULA, so be a good boy and don't sue us. And then finally we have the Overwatch team has unionized, which is some very interesting developments. But before we get into all that, how have you been?
I've been pretty good, man. I know that not a lot of time has passed since the last time we recorded, but I've just been chilling, relaxing. I haven't really done much as far as gaming, except for a few days ago. I gave into the Steam sale.
Oh no.
Dude,
you have games to finish, sir. What are you doing?
I have been bad, sir. Excuse me.
We have your assignments.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. But I got for the very, very good price of $10.
Absolute steal is $10.
It was an absolute steal, I'll have you know. I got Kingdom Come Deliverance and all of the DLC included with the game.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yes,
that's a lot right there.
Oh yeah, it's a lot, and the game is interesting to play. That's probably one of the most complex fight systems I've ever seen.
Yeah. How is it?
I'm not gonna lie to you. The world of Bohemia, that old, essentially medieval world feel is pretty cool. You got people, blacksmiths, you got ales, wenches. They use the word whoreson, so you know that it's a really old world.
Okay.
And yeah, I just finished the prologue, and I like it. I like it so far. They have a lot of different skills that you can do. You can go the route of like the honorable knight, but you can also invest into skills like lockpicking and the speech skill if you want to convince people. So I like it. I like it a lot so far, but I just started the game for real. Like the game just opened up, so I'm gonna see where I can go with it.
Okay, so not too many strong impressions so far.
No, not too many strong impressions, but I do find myself going back to play it, which is great news. And then, I also finished Frieren, the anime.
Oh, how was that?
Dude, it was really good. I was kind of surprised. I didn't think that it would be all that amazing because people were ranting and raving about that.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying like it's like one of the best animes to come out in a long time.
Yes, and you know what? I'm inclined to agree with them. And yeah, that's just it. You got to watch it. It's only one season. I think they definitely left it open for part 2, which is weird because I was watching memes of it and people were crying like at the ending of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh my god, like that's it. It was just a one season thing. I'm like, oh really? But then I watch it. I'm like, dude, these people like hi. It was clearly left open.
No, I'm pretty sure there's a season 2 already confirmed.
Yes, yeah, they confirmed. I'm just saying at the time, which was a while back, they didn't. They were saying that it wasn't going to have a season 2.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out next year, next January. I'm sorry.
But it's a lie. It's a straight lie. I mean, not only did they confirm it, but the ending of season 1 clearly like shows that they're going to continue their journey. So they're just people are retarded. That's just all I can say. But Frieren is very good, and I've also started watching Solo Leveling at the behest of one of my coworkers.
Okay, I hear it's another pretty good one.
Indeed, it is. That
one is really like it's like a video game world, right? Like it works on like video game logic.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. The main character is the video game logic. So, it's just a quick synopsis of it. These portals start to appear in the world, and monsters pour through it, like goblins, wolves, essentially video game fodder. And then humans reawaken, or they awaken to their powers as hunters. However, the thing is, once you awaken as a hunter, the powers you have are set. You cannot get any stronger than what you're at now. So they have different ranked hunters, and once you're that rank, like that's it. You cannot move up or down in that.
Okay.
So the story follows the protagonist. Forgot his name. Well, I just can't pronounce it. I think it's Sung Jin Woo.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like an E rank hunter, and he's literally known as the war. He literally E. Damn it, you got me. But he is considered the weakest hunter in the world. Like, he's that infamous. They even like scanned his. Look, there he is. There's a picture of him right now. If you want to pull him up for the. That's literally the main character. But his mana is so weak that the meter that they scanned him at, it registered at a 10 out of like 10 million or whatever. Like, it was so low. So he's literally the weakest hunter, but he gets caught in a dungeon, and then he dies, but then he reawakens into what's called the system, and then he becomes what's called a player. So
okay.
Yes, so the system, as it's called, gives him daily quests for strength, which gives him attribute points that he can put into stamina, agility, and you can actually see like his form changes. He looks stronger, he looks faster, and all that jazz. It's pretty good. It's pretty good so far. I haven't. I think I'm only 8 episodes in, and there's 2 seasons. So highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah, very good, very good, very good anime. So I recommend that. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. What about you?
Oh man, so personally, not much. So just same old. By the way, happy Mother's Day! Right, it's 2 days after Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to everyone's mothers listening out here. Well, happy birthday to not mothers listening out there, but mothers of the people listening, right?
Yes.
We had a good Mother's Day here. I did some barbecue for my family. We did some ribs.
Man, so good.
Yeah. I did some ribs in the grill, and then we also watched Win or Lose, the new Pixar series on Disney Plus. It's pretty good. It's a very funny, charming show. It's about like a softball team. It takes place like over the span of like a week before a big championship game. It's about like the story of like these softball players and like what they're doing in between that week, and it kind of like changes perspectives throughout each episode until it finally culminates into the actual softball game, championship game.
I see. Interesting.
And it's a good show. It's a good watch. It's it's funny, charming. It's got some good heartwarming moments, like all the things you'd expect like a Pixar, right? Like you're gonna laugh. You'll probably tear up a bit some parts. Very good. And then besides that, of course, I had to watch Peak Door or Andor.
Peak.
Absolutely amazing show. Like this, they've been releasing it like in 3 episode chunks, which is what they should have done with season 1, because that's clearly like how it's structured with season 1, where like every 3 episodes is like a certain arc, right? And they're kind of doing the same thing with season 2, except each arc now takes place over the span of a year, or it takes place within a year. So like arc 1 will be like year 1, and arc 2 would be year 2, and arc 2, and so on forth, until it finally connects to Rogue One, which is like the big plan for it. And these past episodes, last week's episode, because it actually aired, the new episode's aired today. My brother's actually watching it right now, funny enough. He actually invited me to watch it. I'm like, no, I have to record now.
Sorry to take you away from that.
No, it's okay. I always watch it the day after anyways. Yeah, so these new episodes that came out was amazing. Like, this show is so fucking awesome, dude. Like, the level of writing here is so good. It does such a great job at having good, strong characters that are complex and have layers to them, and are like, gray, and they also do a great job at like setting up, big events that are going off, because it's a very slow show. I do recommend watching it, but like I always recommend with the caveat that it is a slow paced show, and you have to kind of toil with how slow it is, especially in the beginning. Like season 1, like the first 2 episodes are kind of slow, And the third episode, like, some stuff happens, right? And it kind of goes up, but then like episode 4 comes, then it kind of like goes down again, right? So you have to be okay with like, peaks and valleys, man. But those valleys are like, those peaks are like peak, man. It's just such a great show, dude. I wish more Star Wars was like this, was on this caliber of filmmaking, man. But we can't, we can't have it all.
No, we can't have it all. They already spent a huge majority of money, like of their budget, on bad shows. So then when a good show like Andor comes along and they're like, oh, the show's too expensive, I'm like, you have any idea how much money you pissed away on crap, and now you have a nice show and we don't have the money for it. Yeah, it's dumb. But I did hear Andor was very expensive to make, though.
Yeah, I think the first season was around 300 million for the whole thing. And
Jesus.
and at first it didn't do well, but then like word of mouth really caught on with it, and like towards the end of the season, like Disney Plus subscription numbers like spiked really high, and like viewership numbers went really high for it. And now season 2,
right.
like, the viewership numbers I think are pretty good too, because like everyone understands now this is peak. This is a great show.
Good. I'm
glad. This is a great show. One thing I really appreciate about it, before I move on, is like how they make the Empire seem legitimately scary. Because like, how the Empire, they're like, the meme of like stormtroopers being pew pew, right? They just can't hit the fucking broadside of a bar, and they're shooting, and like they can't hit something like 10 feet in front of them. Like no, they land their shots to the Empire, and the Empire is fucking smart. Like they're not a bunch of dipshits poiling over themselves, getting tripped up by your mom jokes and stuff.
Yep.
Like in episode 8.
Yeah.
Even though it's the First Order, but whatever.
Remember.
That's the Empire, bro. Fucking.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, great show. And then on the gaming side of things, we played. You and I both played. I'm surprised you didn't mention this, but you and I both played Lethal Company.
Oh,
for the first time, finally. After like, I think it was like 5-6 months.
Man, you can't. Yeah, dude, it's been a while. Like the game has been sitting in our library collecting bytes, just not doing anything with it. So I'm really happy we got to play it. We got to play it with our friends, and dude, it's every bit as fun as it was. But I'll let you go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, it's just as fun and goofy as like you can expect, right? Because I always watched it like on streams, and it always seemed like it was like a good goofy fun. It was like going through like a digital haunted house with your friends. Is kind of like what it felt like. It feels less like a game, more like an experience. It's kind of what makes the game so special. And a lot of that is because of the proximity chat, right? Where depending on like how far apart you are, you guys can hear each other or not when you guys speak. And then on top of that, like you have like, the monsters that can like, just kill you out of nowhere. You can fall down and just die immediately. And then your audio just cuts off. Like that's happened a few times, right? Where I've had some of our friends will like get themselves killed and they'll just stop talking and be like, dude, what? Or sometimes they'll just be dead silent. Like when we left the fire exit and there was the giant there, I'm like, shut the fuck up. I just start sneaking around, and now I'm like scanning for the ship. I'm like, okay, the ship's this way, and I'll start running. Oh shit, right, make it. All right, woo, made it. I'm like, James? Oh shit. And then, sure enough, like, we went off, and it turns out, you got eaten by a giant. And according to you, it was terrifying.
It was terrifying. It was dark. It was scary. No one heard me. No one was responding to me. I couldn't find the ship because of I don't know, I guess the scanner was broken. I wasn't close enough, or I wasn't aiming at the direction of the ship. So, but also we got lost. We got very lost.
I found it immediately. Yeah, you got lost.
Yeah. Well, we got lost in the beginning.
I knew to turn right immediately, but that's besides the point. So, outside of that, I've continued to play Clear Obscure. And great game, dude. Like everyone's like absolutely glazing over this game, and yeah, I can totally see why after getting deeper into it. Because like I'm not gonna lie, like I did like it in the beginning. I thought the prologue was very strong, and Act 1 and like what happens in Act 1 is kind of strong. But then Act 2, like not much happens in Act 2, right? You go through like 2 dungeons that are like they're pretty cool dungeons, and then you go to the final dungeon of the act, and the dungeon goes on for a little bit too long, and you're pretty much just going through like all the areas you've gone through already, pretty much, except they're kind of like remixed a bit, and not much like happens like with the characters or story. And then Act 3 happens, right? And like the big reveal of like everything that's going on, and the story just completely changes. Obviously, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but at first the game starts off as like typical JRPG fashion, where it's like, oh, we're gonna go kill like the evil god, right? That's the JRPG beam of like level 1. pick up a cat from a tree, level 100, fight God.
Yeah.
But then the game just becomes something completely different afterwards when you find out like what's actually happening, and it's so interesting like what it is they're doing. I can't think of like any RPG that has done what this game is trying to do with it, where it's I really can't go into it, but it gets kind of meta. That's all I can say.
It gets meta. Okay,
yeah, it gets kind of meta. I don't want to go too far beyond that.
Then just stop speaking, because I do want to play that game eventually.
Yeah, and it's great, and you love parrying, I know that, so you're gonna be very satisfied with it, because like nothing feels better than like when you finally nail like that boss's like 7-string combo bullshit, and then you parry like, everything, and then it goes like Lune is going for a counter attack, like fuck yeah, and then you do, and then you just hit them back, and the giant boom, like a boom effect comes everywhere, and the monster takes like a bajillion fucking damage from the counter attack, and you get like a bunch of AP, so then you get to use like your next big attack on them. It's great.
That's so satisfying.
And then beyond that, I've actually been playing Doom: The Dark Ages. So my ass dropped $100 for it. So I got the premium edition, and that got me the game, obviously. And it also got me the DLC, so whenever the DLC comes out, I'll be able to play the DLC. And I got to play the game 2 days early, so the game was available as of yesterday, because it doesn't come out until this Thursday officially for everyone. And I've been playing it for the past 2 days, and it's a fun game. It's very fun. It's definitely different from Doom Eternal, right? Because they always make the comparison of like Doom Eternal is like you're a fighter jet, right? And then in Doom Dark Ages, you're a tank. And yeah, it very much is like you are a walking tank. Like even when you run around, remember like in Warhammer, you would hear like your steps, right? Yeah, it's like that. Like the Doom guys, you just, and then when you fall from a high like cliff or something and you drop down, it's like a meteor. Like everything just shatters everywhere.
Oh, that must be so satisfying.
It's so, and everything dies. Like if you land on stuff, like you don't do anything. You just land, and like all like the fodder zombie bitches like just die. It's so funny. And that also translates directly to gameplay, because the main mechanic of the game, like the big innovation that they have, is the shield, which obviously allows you to block attacks. It also allows you to parry attacks as well. So again, parrying. So you get to parry attacks, and like it'll do like a cool slowdown. And of course, like you have like your melee attacks. So like in Doom Eternal, they didn't really emphasize melee too much. Like your melee attacks are kind of weak unless you have the blood punch. But in this game, like they want you to go in and like melee enemies all the time, because like you have like cooldown charges for them, and like you can punch like a certain amount of times, then it goes on cooldown, and you get the back, and you can punch them again, and you get ammo that way.
Good, very cool.
So I'm still pretty early on the game, of course. I'm only in the first third, but so far I'm having a really good time with it.
Yeah.
All right. So what were you gonna say before we go?
No, nothing. I'm glad you're having a good time with both of those games.
Yeah, I'm just so sad that I never got to finish Clear Obscure before Doom came out. Because I made it to Act 3, and pretty much Act 3 you can go straight to the final dungeon, but like, no, I think we could do some side stuff. All right, do
some side stuff and enjoy it, dude.
I got stuck in the side stuff. Well, apparently you can do the side stuff in Clear Obscure after you finish the game, and people say it's actually a better idea, because the side stuff is actually harder than the final dungeon. So what ends up happening is people do the side shit, and then they go to the final dungeon, they just breeze through everything. And apparently, like a lot of people have been saying, like, yeah, it kind of ruined the game for me, which is kind of weird, because like Clear Obscure is inspired by Final Fantasy games, and pretty much every single Final Fantasy game, by the end, they open everything up for you. They give you a ton of access to a ton of side content. And if you do the side content, you pretty much breeze through the final dungeon of the game. And that's never been a problem for me. It's like, oh no, man, it's an RPG. I want to get overpowered.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure, like what's the difference here, but besides that, so let's get into some news, shall we?
Absolutely, my friend. Sounds good.
All right. So for our first story, it's kind of like it's almost like two stories combined into one, but it does have to deal with traditional media and traditional games media and coverage. And it seems that traditional games media and coverage is once again being under attack by our corporate fuckbag overlords. So for starters, we have Polygon, which has been sold to Valnet and is now under the ownership of Valnet. And in the wake of that, there has been some layoffs, as most of the editorial staff has been pretty much let go. So some staffers are still with there, but The editorial staff is, of course, gone. And this was all revealed according to posts online that were received within the Polygon offices and internal messages sent to Vox Media employees. Vox Media being the previous owners of Polygon. So in a statement, the company said, perfectly aligned with Valnet's long-term growth. This is Valnet. Perfectly aligned with Valnet's long-term growth strategy, Polygon will now integrate Valnet's gaming portfolio, which includes industry-leading publications such as Gamerant, The Gamer, Fextra Life, Open Critic, Dual Shockers, and Hardcore Gamers. This addition follows Valnet's recent acquisition of Fextra Life earlier this year, further strengthening its position in the gaming media landscape. With Valnet's proven operational excellence, Polygon is poised to reach new editorial heights through focused investment and innovation. And so in the wake of all that, like I said, most if not all the editorial staff was let go, including former editor-in-chief Chris Plant, who said, I'm no longer with Polygon. If you're hiring, please consider the many talented writers and editors now in the market. Every one of them deserves a spot on your staff. I won't be talking more about the sale because I wasn't involved. And then you can see here all the Blue Sky posts of everyone pretty much involved within it. You got Nicole Carpenter saying, I'll say more later, but I no longer have a job. Anna Diaz, Pete Volk, Katrana Rudolovic. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Matt Leon, Ryan Gilliam, Susan Polo. Right, so lots of people, obviously. You can see a lot of people here have been affected by this.
Yeah.
Any thoughts so far before I go on to Giant Bomb?
I mean, not really. I mean, Polygon's been around for a while, but I think people are starting to get their news and their gaming news, or any news really, from YouTubers, and also YouTubers reacting to news more than anything else. Like, I think the written media is definitely going to be taking a hit, especially games journalists. Because I mean, me personally, I think a lot of games journalists, they don't even report on games properly anymore. So a lot of people have just kind of unsubscribed and stopped listening to them in favor of other media like YouTube.
Yeah, so it's actually a good thing that you brought that up, because I was watching a video here by Nick Calandra of Second Wind. So he used to be with The Escapist, and he used to be the editor-in-chief for The Escapist. And you remember when, The Escapist had that max exodus?
Yes.
Everyone pretty much left with him. And he kind of made a video on how corporations kind of kill traditional games media. And a lot of times he says that in the case of games media, what ends up happening is that a lot of these companies, of course, they're like, profit must go up, right? But their entire business model revolves around what he calls SEO, which is search engine optimization. And essentially what it means is that any content that they make has to be like optimized for like a search engine. So it has to be like something that would show up on Google.
Yes.
Which is a lot of times why you see like the same stories being like covered like all the time on every single, website. Like it's always the same stories every single time, every single website. You don't have
and
like,
also
tons of different coverage covering different situations. Yes?
Oh no, I was just going to add something also that happens is a lot of the news stories will reference each other. Like, like for example, let's say this article here by who's this? Jay Peters. They'll reference, and an article by Forbes, and then they'll go into the story. And it's like, well, then you didn't report it. You're just reporting on a report. So that happens a lot of the time too. They cover the story kind of like what we're doing, except we're not writing our own article. We're just reading the news. But they'll read it, but then write an article about what they read from somebody else.
Yeah, essentially that is what happens in many cases. And then on top of all that, a lot of games journals, they're not paid very well. And in Nick Calandra's video, he even says like in some cases he saw people being paid as little as $2 per article. And even also in other cases, many times the companies would outsource to like writers outside of like the US or pretty much like any like developed country, and so that they could pay like pennies on the dollar for like someone to write up something. Yeah. And their whole strategy is like just, pump out so we can get ad revenue. And of course, ad revenue is always kind of a shaky business model to hinge yourself on, because, people fucking hate ads.
Yeah.
I've gone through websites without ad blockers, like at work and stuff, and sometimes it's like, what the fuck, man? I just can't do anything, because like I just scroll down, I just get like a million fucking pop-ups on my screen. I just can't click on anything, and it becomes a hassle. So naturally, people get ad blockers, and then that costs them to lose money, or like something else will happen, like just something in the algorithm for Google just changes, right? And then you just lose all your traffic overnight because of that.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's very unreliable way of games media.
It is unreliable. Oh, that's pretty much it.
So then, moving on to Giant Bomb. So initially, Fandom, which owns Giant Bomb, had apparently had a shakeup that was going to go down with Giant Bomb, which is another games media website, which actually came from a lot of former GameSpot writers that joined, that left GameSpot over the fiasco that happened with the Kate Lynch game, and where fuck, I forgot his name. Jeff Gerstmann. Right,
Gerstmann, okay.
Yeah, right. So Jeff Gerstmann, remember, he got fired over Kane Lynch because he didn't give it like a good review score. He gave it like a 6, and pretty much like the marketing was like, what the fuck? Like, I have IO Interactive breathing down my neck and saying they're gonna pull like, you know, ad money from there. You have to change your score. And he pretty much said, no, I'm not gonna change my score. So they fired him on the spot, and then he went on to start Giant Bomb with a bunch of other GameSpot.
That's what they need to do. That's actual games journalists shit.
But in this case, with Giant Bomb, so what had initially happened was that apparently Fandom had started a bunch of new policies, and during one of the podcasts on Giant Bomb, they started mocking the policies on there, like publicly just shitting on it. You can actually see like a little bit of it here, if I can find it.
Well, golly gee, I'm just a real rascal, and I don't know if I can really adhere to all this brand safety nonsense I've been hearing so much about.
No! Stand back!
Wow!
I'm going to set the tone right away. None of that, Mike Minotti.
That was too sarcastic, right?
Yeah, so I can see they were not too happy about it, and then eventually they decided to just leave over it. But then it turns out a week later, Giant Bomb was reported to have gone independent, as Fandom actually sold it to the same staffers who had left.
Oh, rad. So, good news.
So it was Jeff Grubb, Jeff Bacalard, Dan Reichert, Mike Minotti, and Jan Ochoa. So this is the Giant Bomb staff, and it has now been sold over to Giant Bomb. And Jeff Grubb and Jeff Bacalard in a joint statement said, Giant Bomb is now owned by the people who make Giant Bomb, and it would not have been possible without the speedy efforts of Fandom and our mutual agreement on what's best for fans and creators. The future of Giant Bomb now is in the hands of our supporting community, who have always had our backs no matter what. We'll have a lot more to say about what this looks like soon, but for now, everyone can trust that all the support you receive goes directly to this team. And so from here, they mentioned how they're going to be moving to a subscription model, or they're going to be more so doubling down the subscription model because they already have subscriptions. Subscriptions are going to go up from $5 to $10, which, you know, naturally, if you're independent, you know, you got self-funded, so you got to, you know, raise some unfortunate prices. But I'd say, you know what, that's worth it. That's a price worth paying if you love Giant Bomb. And then Fandom, in response, has said, Fandom has made the strategic decision to transition Giant Bomb back to its independent roots, and the brand has been acquired by longtime staff and content creators Jeff Bacalard and Jeff Grubb, who will now own and operate the site independently. Fans are at the core of everything we do at Fandom, and we're committed to not only serving them, but also supporting the creators they love, and the sale of Giant Bomb represents a natural extension of that mission. We're confident Giant Bomb's in good hands, and it's likely will live on with Jeff and Jeff.
My name's Jeff.
My name is Jeff. My name's also Jeff.
My name's also Jeff.
Yeah, so this is really great news, because it was kind of disheartening at first when I first put it up. It's funny, because when I first found out about this, I didn't know about this, because on May 2nd, it was reported that that the staff had left. But then by the time I found out about it, like literally like hours later, they were like, "Oh, Giant Bomb went independent." Like, "Oh shit, okay, that's really great news."
Cool.
So, any thoughts?
No, I'm happy. Just happy thoughts. Happy place. I really appreciate Giant Bomb's commitment to staying, true to their brand and true to who they are. You know, and I think going independent will give them more courage and more freedom to report on games and not be shy about it, which is what we need more of in this day and age, since our industry is getting cooked with each passing day.
Yeah, getting cooked by unending, unquenchable corporate greed.
Yeah.
But now at least, they're independent, so they can call their own shots. And it's kind of funny that this is the second time this year that something like this has happened, right? You have Game Informer like coming back from the dead and being more or less independent, and then you have Giant Bomb becoming fully independent,
Yep.
And it's great to see, these games medias are now have the freedom to operate how they see fit, which is how it should be, right?
How God intended, damn it.
Yeah, and because like having this model of like, oh, like we got to say ad revenue, we got to optimize our content for Google, so that way people can Google, we get clicks and stuff, and then we could just bombard them with bullshit advertising money.
I can't stand ads, dude. That needs to like it won't, but it should die out.
Oh no, ads will be here till the end of time, but yeah, it is very annoying going through freaking anything with on a website.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts?
None. Not really. Good for them. Happy for them. Keep it coming. Let's release more. Horror games journalists from the mines so they can report freely.
All right.
Ugh.
So let's move on to our next story, shall we?
Indeed. Well, let's see who's actually not so free. Actually, pretty embroiled right now. So we have here Bungie, famous makers of Destiny and the upcoming smash hit marathon. So, as I don't know if you guys have known this, but Bungie is actually embroiled in a copyright lawsuit right now with writer Matthew Kelsey Martinez suing them for copyright infringement, alleging that Destiny 2's Red Legion, which is I believe that's an expansion, correct, for the Destiny for the video game, or is
it was probably like a season or something, probably like a season storyline.
Yeah. So essentially, there was a storyline that Matthew Kesley alleges was taken directly from his writings on WordPress 4 years before the game was released. So this is, I think we covered it last year when this broke, probably as a throwaway, or if not, I'm not too sure. However, the big news is that Bungie filed for a motion to dismiss the case, and the court pretty much said no, citing that they could not present the content in question. So Bungie and Destiny have been doing something pretty interesting called vaulting their content, where they're taking content that people have paid for in Destiny. In Destiny and Destiny expansions, content they paid for, and then taking it away and then vaulting it. Why? I have no idea. But in any case, so they denied it. So Bungie filed a motion to have the case dismissed, stating that the examples cited in Martinez's suit are demonstrably different than in Destiny 2 than in his work. But the demonstrably part has become an issue for the studio because, well, apparently they cannot present the content in question in court because they just can't. So the judge is like, what? So, here it is right here. So much of the content being cited comes from Destiny 2's Red War campaign and DLC like Curse of Osiris. However, because Destiny 2 is a live service game with an evolving storyline content, it is now placed in Destiny's content vault where it can no longer be accessed by the players or even Bungie themselves. Bungie then sent the court an affidavit by the game director, Tyson Green, which he explains why the studio was unable to provide the Red War and Curse of Osiris content in its original form, citing that that content has outdated code that is incompatible with Destiny 2's underlying operational framework, which has evolved considerably since the Red War and Curse of Osiris campaigns were retired. What?
Pretty much, the spaghetti code is so spaghetti that we can't restore it to what it was before.
We can't restore it to what it was before. So as a result, we can't even present the content. So we need to just do away with this lawsuit. And the court was like, "Are you fucking serious right now? What does that even mean?" So obviously the courts didn't like it. Bungie even made an attempt by submitting player-made YouTube videos and entries from the Destiny Wikipedia page explaining the lore in an effort to show, hey, look, it's nothing like what that guy wrote. And I'm sorry, bro, that's fucking funny. Submitting YouTube videos to court like that. but the court deciding it wasn't sufficient evidence, stating that the accusations that Martineau was levying was aimed at the game story itself and not what they call third-party retellings of it. So they don't like the Destiny Sigma edits being admitted to court. Yeah, so essentially the court says the court will not consider the exhibits attached to defendant's motion to dismiss and will not convert the defendant's motion to dismiss to a motion for summary judgment. There has not been sufficient time for discovery, and the attachments are admittedly of third-party origin, then their authenticity has not been established. So Bungie got denied a court motion, and the case will continue because for some weird reason they cannot store the content that they themselves have. They cannot access the content that they have themselves stored away. Yeah. If I put money in the bank, I can't produce it anymore. I mean, it might be different, but still, like I think it's a cheap cop out, honestly. It makes little sense for what they're asking for. But do you have any thoughts on Bungie's latest L?
It's just funny that this direction they decided to take Destiny with vaulting content that people paid for and pretty much saying fuck game preservation bit them in the ass, right?
Yep, it has bit them in the ass bigly indeed. It's awful.
See if you had preserved games like you fucking should, and then maybe you would have not had to deal with this headache.
Yeah, maybe you would have been able to prove like, no, Your Honor, see, this is clearly not the same thing. But now they're, now they gotta. I don't know if they're gonna go through the spaghetti code or if they're just gonna like let it go and just be like, Your Honor.
I don't think they can. They're probably gonna go like by scripts or something like that, or I don't know. I don't know what the hell you do at that point if you can't use your own game as evidence. Which
is already, again, that's already weird to see. Yes, game vaulting content.
Yeah, they've been doing that for like a while now, like a good I want to say 3 or 4 years at this point. And at the time, it was obviously a very controversial thing because the idea of you losing on content that you paid for does not sit right with people. Even if the justification is it's live service or whatever. Right? You still paid for it.
Yeah, you still paid for it. But then again, I guess now that lends into the idea of, no, actually you're buying a license to play the game, but at any point we can revoke it for whatever reason. And I guess back then it was a symptom, it was one of the first signs, but now that mentality seems to be everywhere, it's like, oh, no, you're paying for a license for this stuff and we could take it away at any point without you saying shit.
All right. How about we move on to our next story?
Indeed.
Another L in the courts.
Another L in the courts from everyone's big green behemoth that's not the Incredible Hulk. We have here Microsoft. So we have here that they actually beat the FTC again, and it's still all about Activision. So as you know, Microsoft back in October of 2023 sealed the deal on their acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, in where they have purchased the other gaming behemoth for, what was it, $68.9 billion?
$69 billion. Let's just go with that.
69 billions? Nice. But anyway.
Nice. Exactly.
But of course, a lot of people in Washington were not very happy, as it definitely seems like it was ringing. It was ringing of antitrust laws being violated, and so they scrutinized this deal very, very much, keeping a close eye on it, even having it out in the courts, even getting so much as Bobby Kotick on the stand to accidentally reveal things like, oh yeah, no, there's a Nintendo Switch 2 coming because we're making a Call of Duty for the Switch 2.
It was a very interesting time, to say the least. Very interesting case.
I'm sorry. That was one of the, to take a break, that was one of the best things I've ever heard. It's like, oh yeah, no, we're making it's like, oh no, we're making a Call of Duty for all the consoles, even for Nintendo's new one. And they're like, wait, what? Hold up. Wait. So anyway, in a report published by Bloomberg's legal team, the details from the document posted today by the United States Court of Appeals from the Ninth Circuit were written front and center. The document may have been discussing the acquisition settled in 2023, but the results of an investigation revealed that the buyout is still having a current impact on the state of the industry. Yeah, no shit. So the document itself is 39 pages, but it states quite clearly that Microsoft didn't violate antitrust laws when shelling out $69 billion
Nice.
to secure Activision. Yes, nice. To secure Activision Blizzard King. So according to the U.S. court that debated the FTC's appeal, there wasn't enough of a case made to dispute the claims that Microsoft would block competitors from accessing their top-tier franchises like Call of Duty. It also stressed that the FTC hadn't proven to any real extent that the Microsoft Activision merger would damage competitors in the cloud streaming space. As you can see, this is written in the document about fostering exclusives to stoke interest in platforms, which, to be fair, Microsoft is doing away with console exclusivity, with even such releases like Gears of War making its way to PlayStation this summer. By the way, are we going to play that?
Yeah.
Are we going to replay all the Gears of War? Are we? For $40?
Is it all of them? No, it's just the first one.
Is it just the first one?
It's just the first one, yeah.
No, it's all of them.
No, it's just the first one. All right, no, could you do the story? Don't. Let's not get sidetracked here.
No, I want to see.
We'll talk about it later.
Anyway, so essentially, I think this is the last of the appeals that the FTC has made against Microsoft. So, for all intents and purposes, Microsoft is now officially in the clear. Their merger is complete. Any thoughts?
I mean, cool for Microsoft, I guess.
Yeah, whatever.
It was just an interesting update. Is all because
we kind of
it was always kind of like a big thing with Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard. Like, it was always a big deal for it, and there was concerns at the time that Microsoft was approaching monopoly territory, and as we know, Microsoft is notoriously monopolistic, right? It have monopolistic tendencies. They even got sued over it and were pretty much forced to break themselves up. I think in the 90s. I think. I forgot what happened specifically or what it was over, but I know that they were on trial for monopolistic practices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to see that the government's at least trying to do something about monopolies and such. We have Google recently was announced as a monopoly, and they're right now trying to figure out how they're going to be punished. They're still trying to hash that out a bit. And Apple recently lost to Epic, right? So they had monopolistic tendencies with their App Store. So I think they took a huge L, by the way. That's a massive L. You can't, they pretty much can't charge on microtransactions anymore. And every single app developer who has microtransactions on their app are gonna be like, hey, don't go through Apple. Click on this link here. It'll come to our store. You just buy it here. And Apple will see none of that revenue.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that. Yeah, it's I'm glad that Apple kind of got to eat a little bit of shit, even if it was because of Epic, who has their own problems. But as far as Microsoft is concerned, it seems that this problem is over. Government found no evidence of antitrust, so their merger is now complete, and now they can go and focus on raising the prices of all their products. Hooray.
Or laying off 3% of their staff, like they did.
Or laying off 3% of their staff.
Like they did this week, which translates to 6,000, or not 6,000 jobs, but a couple of thousand jobs.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. And for what? Growth. So lame. Yeah. But for more insider gaming coverage, check out the news that Marvel Rivals fans are turning feral at Squirrel Girl's new costume. Oh, whoops. That's a link to another article.
Because of course they are.
Because of course
feral is the perfect word for that.
Ooh, whoa. That's Squirrel Girl?
Yeah. It's perfect. Oh, you should see the trailer for it. They know what they're doing. There's a reason people are going feral.
Gooner Rivals.
Marvel Gooners.
Marvel Gooners.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's move on to our next story, shall we?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, and yeah, let's move on to another story with a company who does not know what the hell they're doing. Honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we have another one of the big three. So we actually do have the entire big three on our podcast today, a very rare special treat. Sony announces a new PlayStation studio with a live service game in development. And this is after they had canceled already 2 live service games. One of them being, of course, God of War live service game, because that's exactly what we wanted. A fucking God of War live service game made by Blue Point, who does remakes and has experience remaking FromSoft games, one of which is owned specifically by Sony, called Bloodborne.
Oh my god, bug porn.
It rhymes with Bloodborne, right? But I digress. So, Sony has opened up a new internal studio called Team LFG, and they are working on a live service game. So, Sony's Herman Holst had to say, Team LFG originated at Bungie, but has also rallied developers from across the industry to bring to life an ambitious incubation project that I'm very excited about. The studio is now fully formed and ready to be introduced to the world. And the studio itself reportedly includes industry veterans, although no specific names were mentioned. However, these said veterans have worked on games such as Destiny, Halo, League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox, and Rec Room. They also have a couple of newcomers with fresh creative perspectives and skills. Now, the studio themselves wrote in a statement, we want our players to feel excited when they log in to discover their teammates already hanging out online. We want our players to recognize familiar names and to make memes out of each other. We want our players to love remembering that one time where they pulled off that play that changed the whole story of the match. We will make immersive, multiplayer worlds propelled by action games that players can learn, play, and master for countless hours. We want to build our games with our communities, inviting players to be part of our development process through early access playtests. It's critical that we stay nimble enough to react to player feedback, not just in our lead up to launch, but throughout live services. We continue to grow the community and games for years to come. So, as for details on the actual game, they're very sparse, but apparently the game is inspired by MOBAs and fighting games and life sims and frog type games, interestingly enough. And it will be take place in a lighthearted comedic world set in a new mythic science fantasy universe. Now, according to Eurogamer, there's been speculation that it's possibly the MOBA-style PvP game codenamed Gummy Bears that was in development over at Bungie before it was, taken out of their hands so they can focus more on Marathon.
All right.
So yeah, interesting development here. Any thoughts?
It just sounds like they threw a whole bunch of hodgepodge. I mean, go back down. Fantasy, mythic, sci-fi. I mean, damn. I mean, that's...
Mythic Science Fantasy Universe.
Mythic Science Fantasy Universe.
Yeah, things like Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is more science fantasy.
Yeah.
At that point. Or like Fantasy Star. Like, stuff like that. Stuff that's like magic.
Fantasy. Oh, shit.
Stuff that has like magic, but also has, spaceships.
No, it's magic, but it's actually just really advanced like technology or some shit. Well, all right, cool. Well, Sony does not learn their lesson. Cancel 2 live service games just to turn around and be like, "Oh, we're gonna make yet another live service."
This will surely work.
This will surely.
We're gonna knock this out the park. Fair Game's gonna knock this out the park.
Well, hang on. Mythic Science Fantasy Adventure. That's a MOBA. That's PvP. Are they reviving Concord?
No, Concord was not a.
Concord was not sci-fi.
It was not science fantasy.
It was not science fantasy.
It was just sci-fi. Science fantasy needs like magic in it. There's no magic in it.
Oh, okay.
That's what science fantasy is.
Okay, then.
It's like sci-fi, but there's magic and shit in there.
Would you consider Warhammer 40K science fantasy?
No. Yeah.
Sci-fi?
Yeah, actually. Oh, there's magic in there.
Oh, yeah, the chaos. Yeah, the chaos.
Yeah, there's magic. It's definitely science fantasy.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to see this, and more importantly, I can't wait to laugh about it later when it inevitably fails. Because it's gonna fail.
Well, we'll have to see, right? It's always too soon to tell. Maybe
I know it's always too soon.
Maybe it's like something cool, but at least so far it doesn't sound like anything particularly interesting. It's just interesting that they decided to do this in the first place. That's what I meant more by how it's interesting, not the game itself. Like, the game itself was like, okay, it sounds kind of broad, and it's a MOBA. Like, do we need more MOBAs? We already got, like, Dota and League and shit.
Yeah.
But man, like, come on, Sony. Do we really need another one of these? Like, do you guys have such a fucking hard on for live service games? This is so important to have live service games. Is Helldivers not enough?
Dude, yeah, but Helldivers was an aberration. They didn't think much of Helldivers. It was only after it became a success that they decided to, double down on it.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, at least with Helldivers, like, it was something unique. Like, we don't really have any games that are like Helldivers. Really, like, I can't think of any that like plays like Helldivers. And in the case of Concord, it's like, oh, another 5v5 hero shooter. Like, we have a fucking bajillion of those at this point.
Yeah.
We have Valor, we have Overwatch, you have Apex Legends. Like, we already have like a bunch of hero shooters that all do a bunch of cool stuff, right?
Yes.
And the fact that it was pay too was like, what the fuck? Why? Why are you charging us for this? $40 to play a fucking, what was it? A silverback gorilla looking dude? And a yellow alien with like a life jacket on for some reason?
Yellow alien life jacket.
Or some fat Mexican looking dude with like a sweater on? Like, oh my god.
Or a fucking trash can.
Or a trash can, right? An actual trash. Like, it's just a trash can
Dude,
with a vacuum cleaner. Those designs are a crime against humanity, bro. I swear to God.
Dude, oh my god, they are.
But speaking of crimes against humanity,
oh, indeed, yes.
Nintendo, the constant war criminals of the...
Dude, the equivalent to war crimes in the video game industry.
Yes,
and it's these fucking people.
So yeah, Nintendo has been not on the best PR streak as of late, with the whole $80 games and the whole, oh, we're going to give you cartridges for games that don't actually have the game on it. Well, it seems that Nintendo is continuing down their war crime path, as they have now revised their user agreement to include stipulations involving your Switch and what you can and cannot do. And God forbid you do something that Nintendo doesn't like for the product you pay for and you own, which can lead to it being bricked. So, as spotted by GamerFile, emails have gone out to players confirming the company has updated the Nintendo account agreement and the Nintendo account privacy policy. These new rules will be overruling any previous versions of the rules that came up and will apply to all existing accounts and any new accounts as of May 7th. So GameFile report says that there's specifically about 100 changes, but until May 6th, players agreed that they are not allowed to lease, rent, sub-license, publish, copy, modify, adapt, translate, reverse engineer, decompile, disassemble all or any proportion of Nintendo account services without Nintendo's written consent or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law. That was the old version. However, now the new version reads, without limitation, you agree that you may not publish, copy, modify, yada, 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 all that shit I said before, bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or projections of the Nintendo account services, including through the use of any hardware or software that would cause Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with its documentation intended use. Obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services, or exploit Nintendo copies. Okay, it's a lot of stuff, right? So pretty much,
bro, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
Dude, the legal jargon, that legal.
Right. You acknowledge that if you fail to
nonsense.
comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account services and or the applicable Nintendo device permanently unusable in whole or in part. Like, that's the important part.
Dude,
right there.
permanently unusable.
Yeah, so apparently Nintendo can just brick your shit. And for whatever reason. But then on top of that, well, let's say that they brick your shit unfairly and you want to take them to court. Nintendo goes, right? No, nothing like court. Nothing like court. Oh, no. So on top of being able to brick your console, apparently Nintendo also added an anti-arbitration clause to their EULA. And this is in EULA section 16, which states specifically this arbitration provision precludes you and Nintendo from suing in court, having a trial by jury, or participating in a class action. You and Nintendo agree that arbitration will be solely on an individual basis and not as a class arbitration, class action, or any other kind of representation proceeding. You and Nintendo are each waiving the right to trial by a jury. All right? And accordingly, it says in the article, rather than holding the company legally accountable in court, Nintendo prefers to dissatisfied users direct their complaints to its contact center. And it's not here. Actually, no, it is here in the article. So, if they do, any disputes will follow Sections 18, which states that all claims, including those involving intellectual property, are governed by Washington state law and must be resolved in King County courts, where both sides agree not to contest the location. If a claim arises between Nintendo and a user, both parties are expected to try resolving it informally in good faith within 30 days for negotiations, or longer if they both agree. So it seems like this is being done in response to the class action lawsuits that were in 2019 and 2020 over the Joy-Con drift.
The infamous Joy-Con drift.
Yeah, and it seems that Nintendo's trying to get a little bit ahead of the curve here. Did you experience drift?
Actually, no, I did not.
Okay, probably didn't use it enough. But
No,
what was happening?
Oh wait, no.
Mhm.
I did actually, because I remember I bought like the actual kit to open up my Joy-Con. So I did experience drift. I remember. It's because I think after that happened, I just went with the Switch Pro controller,
Mhm.
and that's what I mostly used.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Ooh, gas. Okay, I haven't had that in a while. So yeah, Nintendo's being scummy fuckbags yet again. So like, they can break your shit for whatever reason, right? And then if you want to sue them over it, you can't do a class action lawsuit over it. You know, God forbid, you have to go to a court that they decide on in Washington. So like, if you live in the other side of the country, eat shit, right? You can't. You have to go to the other side of the freaking country to go to court and see them there for arbitration, which overwhelmingly favors corporations in many cases.
Which is weird
because
Washington
it's
State.
well, no, arbitration like just inherently favors corporations because of the way things are set up, right? But since you against a fucking multi-billion-dollar company with a team of lawyers and regular Joe Schmo Joe, who's just a plumber, right? Making only so much, right? So yeah, no, fuck Nintendo.
Couldn't agree more. Fuck Nintendo. I've actually decided not to get a Switch 2, and there's a really good chance I might just pick up another Steam Deck for educational purposes, because that's how much I can't stand these bitches.
Yeah, and they made it pretty easy to like not be able to get a Switch. It's get the high prices, the $80 games, the fact you have to pay for resolution patches, or that you have cartridges that don't even have the complete game on there.
So just a piece of plastic that has nothing. I don't care if it has a game key. No, it has nothing.
Yeah, so it's just this just sucks. Yeah, it just sucks.
Man, it fucking blows. Yeah, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, it's such a shame though how like we went from like, yay, Switch 2, yeah, we're gonna play. We're like, fuck the Switch.
Yeah, fuck the Switch, fuck Nintendo. Everybody can catch these hands in the gaming industry at this point. I mean, the game industry is definitely in the process of crashing. Everything is being like cranked up, like price wise, being cranked up to 11. We're getting priced out of a lot of shit, and it's just an overall hostility toward their customers that for some reason they want the money but not the customer. That's a weird mentality to have as a business person, but yeah, what do I know? I don't own a small business, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows? But
who knows?
You know who's not wrong? It's not the best
No.
segue.
No. Actually, no. You're right though. They're not wrong. In fact, they are on astounding levels of winning as of late.
Which is so weird to say.
Dude, I am still shocked to this day. He's still shocked after a couple weeks. But so Blizzard's Overwatch team, also known as Blizzard Team 4, has just voted to unionize. Wall-to-wall union. So literally everybody, nearly 200 developers of Blizzard Team 4, also known as the Overwatch team, Jeff's team, miss you, Papa Jeff, has unionized.
Uncle Aaron's taking care of us now.
Yes, Uncle Aaron is taking care of us. About fucking time. I was about to.
Now that Bobby's fucking got his sweaty goblin hands off.
Yeah. But in any case, so it's official. The Overwatch 2 team has unionized. That includes nearly 200 developers across disciplines ranging from art to testing to engineering and design. Basically, anyone who doesn't have someone else reporting to them. And it is the second wall-to-wall union at Blizzard right after the Warcraft team unionized last July. So, to quote, game developers behind Activision Blizzard hit franchise Overwatch have joined the CWA, which, as you know, is the Communications Workers of America, becoming the latest group of workers at Microsoft-owned studios to form a wall-to-wall union. A neutral arbitrator confirmed today that an overwhelming majority of workers have either signed a union authorization or indicated that they want union representation via an online portal. Yay! So this is pretty good. Unions are picking up steam in the video game space, especially with CWA. They're officially called the Overwatch Game Makers Guild -CWA, and it is the latest group to enter into a labor neutrality agreement. And of course, the policy shift took frustrations that bubbled up with management back in 2021 and funneled them into an objective with assurances that the company leaders would not interfere. But of course, we know how that goes.
Yeah, those frustrations being a lot of it centering around the return to work policy, and them essentially eliminating a lot of remote jobs as a result of it.
Yes,
there's more to it, of course, but
yeah, and also
that was one of the big ones.
Yeah. Also, a really big one too was that apparently Microsoft has been accused of slow walking with. What is slow walking? Is that just dragging their feet?
Yeah,
with,
dragging their feet.
Yeah, they've been dragging their feet with the contract
like.
negotiations. No, I mean I know that's what it sounded like, but I want to make sure I got it right. But in any case, they've also accused Microsoft of slow walking and just dragging negotiations on for far too long. So they're just like, you know what? Fine, fuck it. We're not even going to negotiate. We're going to unionize, and you're going to fucking take it. So. However, Simon Hendrick, a test analyst at Blizzard, told Kotaku that the biggest issue was the layoffs at the beginning of 2024. Up to that moment, I'd been really happy with what I was doing. He had been a longtime fan of World of Warcraft and started playing Overwatch from day one in 2016. And in 2022, he was hired to work at Blizzard on QA for the sequels versus modes and matchmaking. And that's really important, dude. QA, they make sure that the finished product is smooth. Excuse me. So the post-merger shockwave was one of the catalysts for organizing at Team 4, which, it goes into a bit of history because we all know that Overwatch was actually supposed to be the MMO Titan before it was canceled and eventually turned into Overwatch. And he also said that one of the big drivers pushing Overwatch team to unionize included pay disparities, work from home restrictions, and wanting codified protections around things like crunch, time off, and severance in the events of layoffs, which is what you were talking about. The return to work, the return to the office and shit. Organizing Blizzard employees stress that improving their working conditions can also lead to better games. Yes, while the opposite can make them worse. Yes, obviously. Yeah, we know this. Layoffs are not good for anybody. They're only good for the fat cats up top. So, Overwatch 2 staff was actually particularly upset last spring when changes to the company's profit sharing program left them with zero bonuses for an entire year.
Yeah.
That's beyond.
I remember that.
Yeah,
they fought really hard with Bobby, and Bobby was like, "No,
Bobby was
we'll give it to the Diablo guys because Diablo 4 guys made a ton of money. And of course, the WoW guys, like that's Blizzard's golden goose. So like, WoW people always get it right. Before that, Morhaime was all like, "No, we give it, we spread it out evenly, right? Because that motivates people to keep working on this stuff. Because like if you just give it to the people who do the best, then guess what? All the staff are just gonna want to work on the stuff that."
Yeah, they just want to work on the best one.
And that kills creativity, of course, because then everyone's just working the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So it seems that 2025 has been the year of Overwatch, dude, which I'm pretty happy about.
Yeah, right. It's like I keep saying over and over again. It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, it's so weird to be so back. Like we're so fucking back. It's crazy.
Yeah, so ultimately, it's good to hear when, a team unites, especially at a big company like Microsoft. Because, it gives the employees assurances and protections and negotiation power, and that's always good when you have bosses that are assholes, pretty much. We wouldn't need unions if, these guys, weren't such dicks, but they're unfortunately big dicks, so
Unfortunately, they're big dicks, especially when they start to accumulate a huge chunk of the industry, and it's a lot easier for them to, force their will onto the industry and its workers. So I'm really happy. I hope that the Overwatch team gets exactly what they want, the conditions that they want, because they're making Overwatch they're making Overwatch great again, dude. I'm sorry to say, it's
There's nothing to be sorry about, bro. This is what you wanted the whole time.
Yeah, bro, this is what I wanted. I want a good fucking game. I want a good Overwatch, and I'm getting it. And now they want concessions. They want better working conditions. Fucking give it to them, bro.
They've earned it at this point, especially this year.
I want my Overwatch. I want my Overwatch back, and it's happening. So keep it happening. Let's fucking go. Oh! Yeah, so let's fucking go. So good news, great news. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this news. Oh yeah, do you wanna add anything else? Because I know, I mean, you've been playing Overwatch a lot more than I have. So
well, actually, I haven't played it since last time we played. So
yeah.
not in a while, but I know that they've been very active with talking about Stadium and stuff, and they actually released like a blog not too long ago talking about like how like their thought process is behind balancing and stuff. They even like had some stats on like character pick rates and win rates and like how they balance items and stuff. And it was a cool read. So it's nice to see that they are on top of things. They're communicating. They're doing they're making all the right moves.
Good. Yeah.
They're making all the right moves. And you know what? If Stadium sucks, you just go play 6v6, or I'll just go play regular 5v5 comp, right?
Or open queue.
Or open queue. Well, that's what I did. 6v6 open queue, right? So you just play 6v6 or just play 5v5, like standard 5v5. You got options, right?
Yes, you do. You got plenty of options. Very happy. Very good times.
All right, dude. So how about you sign us out?
All right, man. Sounds good. Man, that was so weird.
What?
No, it's just weird. The timing just ended really quick. But in any case, thank you so much for watching this episode of Two Bar Connection. We really appreciate you guys sitting down to give us a watch. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video. You could also leave comments for any games that you want us to try out, or if there's any news stories that you want us to cover. The best place to watch us is on YouTube, but we do have audio-only versions of the podcast, which are available on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. And you can also check us out on our socials on Twitter. Sorry.
We will not call it
on Twitter.
Not on here.
Yes, at 2Bar Podcast.
All right. You got it. Nailed it, bro.
Cool.
All right, so yeah, once again, thank you guys for listening. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Peace.
Bye, everybody.